Welcome to the Aunt Betty's Stories. Good day, dear friends. Today I am going to tell you a story that happened in my life. A story about how a single moment can turn your whole world. Please give this story a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means so much to me. I still remember that evening as if it happened yesterday. The air was heavy with silence, the kind that presses down on your heart and makes every breath feel slower. The sun was setting behind the old mango trees outside our home, throwing long shadows across the yard. I was sitting by the window folding a few clothes when I heard his voice, sharp, angry, and cold. It was my son, my only son, the boy I once carried on my back to church, the one whose laughter used to fill this same house. But that day his voice was not the same. "Mother, why can't you just let us live in peace?" he yelled. For a moment I froze. I didn't answer. My hands trembled, the folded cloth slipped from my lap and fell to the floor. I wanted to believe I had heard wrong, but deep down I knew I hadn't. There was pain in his voice, but there was something else too. Distance. As if he wasn't talking to his mother anymore, but to a stranger who had overstayed her welcome. From the kitchen, I heard my daughter-in-law's laughter, loud, careless, almost celebrating his anger. She said something I couldn't quite catch, but the tone was clear. It was joy. And that joy cut through me like a knife. That night I didn't eat. I sat by the lamp, looking at the small family picture on the shelf. My son's smile from years ago looked so innocent. I touched the frame gently, whispering, "When did you forget, my boy? When did you stop hearing my heart?" It wasn't always like this. There was a time when he couldn't sleep without my songs. When he would bring me flowers from the field, calling me Mama, the queen of my heart. But now I was just Mama, the one who talks too much. The one who doesn't belong anymore. I tried to smile when he shouted. I thought maybe if I stayed calm the storm would pass. But deep down something cracked inside me. Not anger, not pride, just the quiet understanding that a chapter had closed. That night I prayed, not for him to apologize, but for God to give me strength to let go without hate. I whispered softly into the darkness, "Maybe this is what motherhood is, Lord. Loving even when you are no longer needed." I was not born into wealth, but I was born into love. My mother used to say, "Love is the only inheritance that never loses its value." Those words guided me all my life. I grew up in a small village near Lake Nyasa, where the mornings smelled of wet earth and roasted maize, and the evenings carried the songs of women returning from the fields. Life was simple then. We didn't have much, but we had each other. When I married Daniel, my late husband, we built our home with our own hands, brick by brick, under the wide African sky. The house still stands today, though the paint has faded, and the roof leaks when it rains. But to me it was a palace. It was where we built our dreams, where laughter echoed through every wall. Years passed, and the Lord blessed us with one child, a boy we named Samuel. From the moment I held him in my arms, I knew my heart would never belong to me again. He was small and soft, with curious eyes that searched my face as if he already knew I would be his whole world. Samuel grew up fast, strong, and full of light. He was the kind of child who could make anyone smile. Even when I was tired from farm work, his laughter would lift my heart. Every evening I would cook ugali and greens while he told me stories about school, waving his hands as he spoke, his excitement spilling into the room. When his father passed away, Samuel was only 15. I thought the world had ended that day. Daniel's passing left a silence in the house so deep I could hear my own breathing. But Samuel became my reason to keep living. He would wipe my tears and say, "Mama, don't cry. I will be your man now." Those words stayed with me through every hardship. I worked day and night to see him through school. I sold vegetables at the market, washed clothes for neighbors, and even borrowed money when I had to. I wanted my son to have the life his father dreamed for him. A better life, a city life. And when he finally graduated and found a good job, I felt as though my struggles had meaning. I whispered a prayer of thanks every night, believing all my pain had led to that moment. When Samuel told me he had met someone, a woman named Lydia, I was happy for him. I remember her first visit. She came wearing a yellow dress that shone under the afternoon sun. She was polite, quiet, and smiled a lot, though her eyes seemed to be studying me carefully. Still, I welcomed her with open arms. I cooked my best stew and even brought out the plates I used only on Sundays. At first, everything seemed fine. They got married in church. A small ceremony full of laughter and blessings. I watched them dance together, his hand on her waist, her head resting on his shoulder, and my heart filled with pride. My boy was no longer a child. He was a man with a home of his own. After the wedding, Samuel insisted I move in with them. "You've worked too hard, Mama," he said. "It's time you rest. Come live with us." I hesitated at first. I didn't want to be a burden. But he insisted so lovingly that I agreed. I packed my few things, my Bible, my favorite shawl, and a small wooden box that held my memories, and I left my village behind. The city was louder than I expected, full of cars and strange smells. Their home was modern, full of things I didn't understand, machines that talked, lights that turned on with a touch. Lydia showed me around politely, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. She said, "Mama, this will be your room," pointing to a small one at the back of the house. I thanked her. I didn't mind the size. All I needed was a bed, a window, and peace. First, we lived peacefully. I cooked for them, cleaned and watered the plants. Samuel would come home tired from work, and I would bring him tea the way I always had. Sometimes he would sit by me and talk about his job, but slowly those talks became fewer. Lydia preferred quiet dinners, soft music, and her phone in hand. I noticed Samuel's laughter became shorter, his eyes often elsewhere. I tried to stay out of their way. I reminded myself, this is their home now. You are just a guest. But mothers can't help themselves. We notice things. I saw how Lydia sighed whenever I spoke too long, how she corrected me gently but firmly, how Samuel began to echo her tone. One evening I overheard them talking in the living room. Lydia's voice was soft but sharp. "She means well, but this isn't the village. I can't keep living like this. She's always watching me." Samuel said nothing for a moment. Then he sighed and said, "She's my mother, Lydia." Lydia replied, "I know, but this is our home now. We need space. You have to set boundaries." I quietly walked away, pretending I hadn't heard, but my heart felt heavy like a stone pressed against my chest. Still, I stayed calm. I told myself that love always finds a way to fit, even in tight spaces. Maybe I just needed to adjust, to learn their rhythm. So I did what mothers do. I kept loving them silently, hoping my love would be enough to make a home again. The days turned into weeks and weeks into months. At first, I thought I was simply adjusting to a new rhythm, the way a river bends quietly around a rock, still moving but slower. But soon I realized the river inside this house had stopped flowing altogether. I would wake up early before sunrise, just like in the village. Old habits never die. I swept the yard, boiled water for tea, and sometimes prepared breakfast. But slowly, Lydia began to change things. "Mama, we don't eat that early," she said one morning, her voice polite but firm. "Samuel prefers oats now, not porridge." I nodded. "Yes, my child. I understand." It wasn't the words that hurt. It was the tone. As if my ways were outdated, unnecessary. I smiled anyway. I told myself maybe she just wants to make her own home in her own way. But one by one, my little acts of care were replaced. She started cooking herself, cleaning herself, doing the things I thought were still mine to give. Samuel didn't say much. He seemed caught between us, silent, choosing peace by choosing distance. One afternoon, I heard laughter from the living room. Lydia's friends had come over. They were young, beautiful, dressed in bright city clothes. I greeted them warmly. "Welcome, my daughters." They smiled politely but kept whispering among themselves. I caught bits of their conversation, things about village habits, old traditions, and how some people just don't fit in modern homes. I didn't need to ask who they meant. I just smiled, offered them tea, and walked back to my room quietly. That night, Samuel came to my door. "Mama, Lydia says you don't have to worry about house chores anymore. You've done enough in your life. Just rest." Rest. The word sounded kind, but it didn't feel kind. Rest from what? From being a mother? From being useful? I nodded slowly. "All right, my son. I will rest." But inside I was breaking in small, silent ways. Days passed in quiet routine. I stayed mostly in my room, knitting, reading my Bible, praying. I would hear them laughing sometimes, the soft music in the evenings, the sound of plates clinking. A home that still lived, but without me in it. One evening, I cooked stew the way Samuel used to love. I set the table and waited. When they came home, Lydia looked at it and said gently, "Oh, Mama, I already ordered food. Samuel wanted Chinese tonight." She smiled, unaware that my hands had been trembling over the fire for hours. I said, "That's fine, my child," and slowly cleared the food away. Later, when they went to their room, I ate alone, the stew cold, the tears warm. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Sunday morning. Samuel was getting ready for church. I noticed his shirt had a missing button, so I went to sew it quietly. Lydia walked in just as I was finishing. Her face tightened. "Mama, you don't have to touch his things. I'll handle it." I looked up surprised. "I was just fixing the button, my dear." "I said I'll do it," she repeated, her voice sharper this time. Samuel came out and saw us. "What's going on?" "Nothing," I said quickly. "Your wife just wants to help." But the silence after that stayed in the air like smoke. Later that day, Lydia told Samuel she wanted space. I overheard them again, not because I wanted to, but because the walls were thin. She said, "Your mother is always around. I can't breathe, Samuel. I need my home back." Samuel sighed deeply. "She has nowhere else to go, Lydia. There's always somewhere," she said softly, almost coldly. That night I couldn't sleep. I looked at the ceiling, the old fan spinning slowly, and I whispered to myself, maybe love doesn't belong everywhere. Maybe sometimes even love becomes too much. The next morning, I decided to give them the space they wanted. I started packing my things quietly. I didn't tell them at first. I thought I'd just leave a note and go back to the village. But when Samuel came home early and saw my bag near the door, he asked, "Mama, where are you going?" I smiled faintly. "Home, my son. Back to where I came from." His face tightened. "Because of Lydia?" "No," I said gently. "Because I think every bird needs to fly freely in its own sky." He didn't say a word. He just looked at me and then turned away. But before I could leave the next morning, Lydia spoke to Samuel again. Her voice was low, but I heard it. I was standing near the corridor. "She's leaving tomorrow," she said, almost in relief. "Finally, we can live like a couple." Samuel didn't respond immediately. Then in a tone I'll never forget, he said softly, "Maybe that's for the best." That's when something inside me shifted. It didn't break all at once. It simply folded inwards. I realized in that moment that I had lost him long before he ever raised his voice. I lost him in all the silences we shared, in every small change I ignored, in every time I smiled instead of asking why. That evening I sat on the veranda, watching the sky turn golden. The wind carried the smell of fried plantains from a neighbor's house. Children played somewhere down the street, their laughter echoing. Life went on, as if my world hadn't just fallen apart quietly. The next morning began with the sound of rain tapping gently against the windows. I always believe that when the heavens cry, it's because they feel what we cannot say. That day, I felt their tears mixing with mine. I woke before dawn as usual. I folded my shawl, put my Bible in my bag, and looked around my small room. It was still dark, but the faint blue light of morning crept through the curtains. I touched the walls, the small table, the chair. Every corner of that room held a piece of my silent prayers. I wanted to leave quietly, without disturbing anyone. But just as I picked up my bag, I heard footsteps. Samuel stood in the doorway, his eyes tired. He looked at me for a long moment before speaking. "Mama, where are you going so early?" I smiled, pretending my heart wasn't breaking. "Home, my son. I've stayed long enough. The air here belongs to the young now." He frowned. "You don't have to leave like this. Lydia didn't mean to upset you." I nodded slowly. "I know she didn't, my son. But sometimes peace doesn't come by staying. It comes by stepping aside." Before he could reply, Lydia appeared behind him, still in her robe, holding a cup of coffee. "Oh," she said softly. "You're leaving." I turned to her and smiled. "Yes, my child. It's time." She hesitated. I hope you didn't feel unwelcome." Her words were polite, but her relief was in her eyes. I didn't blame her for that. Not everyone can share their space with an old woman who carries the past in her hands. I picked up my bag, but Samuel took it gently from me. "Mama, let me carry it." I wanted to tell him no, to say, "You've carried enough of me already." But I stayed quiet and let him. As we walked toward the front door, Lydia moved to the kitchen, humming softly. I wondered if she even realized how her voice filled the house, while mine was slowly fading out of it. The car ride to the bus station was quiet. The city was waking up. Vendors setting up their stalls, children running in the rain, motorbikes splashing through puddles. I watched it all through the window, the glass fogged by my breath. Samuel parked near the gate and turned to me. "Mama," he said softly, "you can always come back, you know that?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw my little boy again for a moment. The same eyes, the same mouth that used to call me Mama, my sunshine. But there was a distance now, like fog between two shores. "I know, my son," I said gently. "But you see, home is not always where you stay. Sometimes it's where your heart still feels heard." He looked down. "Lydia is she's trying." "I know," I whispered. "And so am I." He nodded but said nothing more. We sat in silence until the rain slowed. Then he took my hand, the same hand that had once fed him, wiped his tears, held him through his sickness. His touch was warm but brief. When the bus arrived, I stepped out slowly. He followed me with the umbrella, holding it over my head. I could see tears in his eyes, though he tried to hide them. I smiled and said, "Don't cry, my son. You gave me a reason to live for many years. Now give her the same." He nodded, lips trembling. "I love you, Mama." "I know," I whispered, my voice barely above the rain. "And I love you more." I boarded the bus. Through the window, I watched him standing there, hands in his pockets, the rain soaking his shoulders. He looked so much like his father in that moment, proud, strong, but lost inside. As the bus pulled away, I felt a heaviness lift from my chest. Not relief, but acceptance. Sometimes letting go is not weakness. It is love, choosing peace over possession. The road back to my village was long. The countryside stretched endlessly, fields, goats grazing, women carrying baskets on their heads. I watched it all, my eyes misty but my heart strangely calm. When I reached home, everything looked smaller. The walls, the trees, even the air felt older. But it was mine. I opened the door, brushed off the dust, and stepped inside. The silence welcomed me like an old friend. For weeks I lived quietly. I planted flowers in the yard, visited my neighbors, and went to church every Sunday. But sometimes, late at night, I would hear Samuel's voice echo in my dreams, that one sharp yell. "Why can't you just let us live in peace?" First, those words burned like fire. But over time they became softer, like an echo carried away by the wind. I began to understand that maybe it wasn't anger. Maybe it was confusion, the struggle of a man trying to balance love between two worlds. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, I sat outside, shelling groundnuts for tomorrow's market. The air was warm, and a little boy from the neighborhood came running up to me. "Mama Grace," he shouted, "someone brought you a letter." He handed me an envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was from Samuel. Inside there was a short note. "Mama, I am sorry. I didn't realize how much I hurt you until you were gone. The house is not the same without your voice. Lydia and I are expecting a child. I hope someday when the baby is born, you will come and bless our home again. I love you always." I read it 3 times before I could breathe. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring the ink, but I smiled through them. I whispered to the evening air, "He remembers. He still remembers." That night, I lit a candle and prayed for them, not with pain but with peace. I asked God to bless their marriage, to give them understanding, and to keep my son gentle. I prayed not for him to return to me, but for love to return to him. And for the first time in many months, I slept without tears. Months passed like slow-moving clouds. Some days brought sunshine, some brought rain, but inside me, the storm had begun to settle. Forgiveness doesn't happen in one moment. It comes little by little, like water smoothing a rough stone. I used to think forgiveness was about forgetting, but I learned it's not about forgetting. It's about remembering, without letting the memory hurt anymore. Every morning I would wake before dawn, sweep the yard, light a small candle and pray. My house became my temple, and silence became my teacher. The mango tree outside my window had grown fuller, its branches heavy with fruit. Birds built their nests there, and their songs filled the air each morning. One day I sat under that tree peeling cassava when my neighbor Mama Ruth stopped by. She was carrying a basket of oranges. "Grace," she said, smiling, "you look younger these days. Peace suits you." I laughed softly. It took me many years to find it, my sister. I had to walk through pain to understand calm. She nodded. Pain is a teacher too. After she left, I sat quietly, holding one orange in my hand. Its scent reminded me of Samuel. He used to love oranges as a child. I remembered his sticky fingers, his laughter, the way he'd chase the chickens after breakfast. For the first time in months, that memory didn't bring tears. It brought a smile. That evening, I took a walk through the village. The children waved, the women greeted me, and the men returning from work nodded respectfully. Life continued, not loudly but gently. I realized that peace doesn't mean the absence of pain. It means learning to live beautifully despite it. Weeks later, another letter came. This time it was not just from Samuel. It was signed by both him and Lydia. Mama Grace, we had a baby girl. We named her after you, Grace Jr. We would be honored if you came to see her. Lydia says she wants to start again, properly this time. Please come. We need you. I read it slowly, every word sinking deep into my heart. My eyes filled with tears, not of sadness but of gratitude. I looked up to the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Lord. You have softened our hearts." The next morning I packed a small bag, just like the last time I left that house, but this time it felt different. My steps were lighter. There was no fear, no pride, only forgiveness. When I reached the city, Samuel was already waiting at the bus station. He looked older, but his eyes had peace I hadn't seen before. "Mama," he said softly. I didn't wait for words. I simply opened my arms and he stepped into them. For a long time we just stood there holding each other, crying, not from pain but from release. Then Lydia came forward, holding a small bundle wrapped in pink cloth. She looked nervous, shy even. "Mama Grace," she said quietly, "this is your granddaughter." I looked at the baby, tiny fingers, round cheeks, eyes closed in deep sleep. I touched her forehead gently and whispered, "Welcome, little Grace. May your life be filled with love." Lydia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything. I was young, proud, and I didn't understand. But I do now." I took her hand in mine and smiled. "Child, forgiveness is not something we earn, something we choose. And today I choose peace." We walked back to their home together. The same house that once felt heavy now seemed bright and open. The air inside smelled of new beginnings, baby powder, warm milk, and hope. That evening I held baby Grace as the sun set. Samuel sat beside me, his arm around Lydia. For the first time in years, our silence was peaceful. When night came, I stood by the window looking at the moon. I whispered a prayer, not for the past to return, but for the present to stay gentle. I realized that life doesn't always give us perfect endings. Sometimes it gives us quiet ones, where the heart finally rests, where forgiveness blooms, and where love, though changed, still lives. That night, as the baby stirred in her sleep, I hummed the same lullaby I used to sing to Samuel long ago. Softly, slowly I sang, "Sleep, my child, the night is kind. The stars will guard your dreaming mind. The pain is gone, the tears have ceased. In love we live. In love there's peace." And as I sang, I felt something deep, the circle of life closing softly, without noise, without regret. Forgiveness had finally done its work. Peace had finally found its home. Sometimes, late at night, when everyone is asleep, Samuel, Lydia, and little Grace, I sit by the window and just listen. The world has its own kind of silence at that hour. The crickets sing softly outside. The moonlight spreads across the floor, and the wind hums against the roof like an old friend whispering secrets of peace. In those quiet moments, I think about everything that has happened, the love, the anger, the words that cut too deep, the tears that felt endless, and the forgiveness that finally healed them all. I realize now that life doesn't owe us comfort. It offers us lessons, sometimes gentle, sometimes harsh, but always meaningful. I used to wonder why God allowed pain inside families. Why must mothers cry because of their own children? Why do hearts that once beat together turn against each other? But as I sit here holding a cup of tea in my wrinkled hands, I understand. Pain isn't a punishment. It's an invitation to grow, to see ourselves clearly, and to love in a way that doesn't depend on being loved back. When I look at my granddaughter sleeping peacefully, I see a new beginning. A second chance, not just for me, but for all of us. Little Grace will grow up knowing love that is gentle, not proud. She will learn from our mistakes and carry forward what we did right. The warmth, the care, the forgiveness. Sometimes Lydia sits beside me and helps me braid my hair. She says softly, "Mama, you are stronger than I ever knew." And I tell her, "Child, strength is not in shouting. It's in staying kind when life is unkind to you." She smiles every time I say that, maybe because she finally understands. The neighbors now come to visit often. They laugh, they bring food, and our home is full again. Full of the small, beautiful noises of family. The clinking of dishes, the cry of the baby, the echo of laughter. Even Samuel, who once spoke with anger, now speaks with gentleness. He often says, "Mama, I wish I could undo the pain I caused." I tell him, "You already did, my son, by coming home with love." I walk through the garden every morning. The flowers I planted long ago have grown wild and free. They remind me that love, once planted, never really dies. It might bend in the wind, but it always finds a way to bloom again. There are still moments when I remember the night he yelled, the night my heart broke quietly. But when that memory comes now, I no longer feel bitterness. I feel gratitude, because that moment, painful as it was, led us all here, to forgiveness, to peace, to understanding. Life has its own strange wisdom. Sometimes it breaks us just so we can be rebuilt stronger, softer, wiser. If I could speak to every mother who sits alone tonight, crying for her child, I would tell her this. Don't let pain make your heart hard. Let it make your heart deep. Let it teach you patience, compassion, and faith. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, my dear, but it changes the meaning of the past. It turns wounds into wisdom, and memories into gentle lessons. And peace is not found when the noise stops. It's found when you stop needing the noise to feel whole. Now, every night before I sleep, I whisper a little prayer. Thank you, Lord, for giving me strength when I was weak, for teaching me that love is greater than pride, for showing me that peace is not something we find, it's something we choose. Then I look at the stars, the same stars that watched me when I cried alone years ago, and I smile, because even the stars, distant and silent, remind me of something beautiful. No matter how dark the night, the light never truly leaves. And maybe that's what life is. A long journey from hurt to healing, from pride to peace, from losing to finding again. As I close my eyes, I can hear the soft breathing of baby Grace from the next room. Her tiny heartbeat feels like a promise that the love we rebuild today will live in her tomorrow. And with that thought, I drift to sleep, calm, whole, and free. Because finally, after all the years of storm, I have found my peace. The months I spent away from my son's home became a quiet chapter of my life. I didn't plan it that way, but time has a strange way of creating space where healing can grow. After leaving the city, I moved to a small village near the river. The air there was always cool, and every morning I could hear the sound of women pounding cassava, roosters crowing, and children running barefoot across the path. It felt like a place where my soul could finally breathe. At first, I was lonely. I missed the noise of my son's home, the laughter, even the arguments. But loneliness can be a teacher too. It shows you who you are when nobody is watching. There was an old widow in the next hut, Mama Esther. She was kind and full of stories. She would come by every evening carrying a small stool and sit beside me. Sometimes she spoke, sometimes we just watched the sunset in silence. One night she said, "Grace, don't let pain make your heart bitter. Let it make your heart deeper." Those words stayed with me. I began to see pain differently, not as punishment but as preparation. Preparation for something gentler, wiser, stronger. I started keeping a small garden behind my hut. I planted beans, maize, and some flowers, bright orange ones that danced whenever the wind blew. Every morning, I watered them and talked to them softly like children. "Grow strong," I would whisper. "Don't let the sun scare you." And slowly, as my plants grew, my heart grew too. One afternoon, I was sitting outside, mending a torn wrapper, when a group of children came running from the river, laughing. One of them, a little girl with missing front teeth, stopped by my hut. "Mama Grace," she said shyly, "can you tell us a story?" I smiled. It had been a long time since anyone asked me for a story. That evening, I sat with the children under the mango tree and told them about my childhood, about the river spirits, about the stars that guide travelers home. Their laughter echoed through the night. For the first time in a long time, my voice felt alive again. Weeks turned into months. My garden flourished, and so did I. I began teaching the village women how to make herbal tea, how to weave baskets, how to cook with love instead of haste. They started calling me Mama Grace of the river. Sometimes at dusk, I would sit by the river and watch the water flow endlessly toward places unseen. I thought of Samuel often. I wondered if he was eating well, if Lydia still spoke harshly, if they ever missed me. I didn't know that miles away, Samuel was also sitting by a window thinking of me. Time has a way of speaking to two hearts at once, even when words are never exchanged. One rainy night I dreamt of him. In the dream he was still a child running toward me, arms wide open calling, "Mama, wait for me." I woke up with tears on my cheeks. But instead of pain I felt peace. Because even dreams can bring healing if the heart is ready. After that night I began to feel a pull, a gentle whisper in my spirit telling me, "It's time to go home." Not because I was weak, but because love had done its quiet work inside me. So one morning I packed my small bundle again. I looked around my little hut, the garden, the stool, the mango tree, and whispered, "Thank you." Then I started my journey back, walking slowly toward the road that would take me to my family. When I reached the city, the air smelled different. Dust, rain, and distant smoke from evening fires. My heart beat fast as I approached Samuel Street. Everything looked familiar but somehow softer, calmer. Before I could knock, the door opened. Lydia stood there holding baby Grace. For a moment we both froze. Two women who had once hurt each other, now standing face to face with nothing left but truth. She didn't speak. She simply stepped aside and whispered, "Come in, Mama." Inside, Samuel was sitting on the couch. When he saw me, he stood up so quickly that the chair almost fell behind him. He came forward, his eyes wet. "Mama," he said, voice trembling, "I've been waiting for you." And just like that, every wall inside me broke. I reached out and held him, feeling his heartbeat against mine. All the pain, all the silence, it melted like wax in the warmth of love. Days passed and I became part of their home again, but not like before. This time there was understanding. Lydia and I began to cook together. We talked about small things first. Recipes, the baby's feeding time, garden seeds, and slowly the space between us filled with kindness. Sometimes she would look at me and say, "Mama, I didn't know how hard it was to be in your place." And I would answer, "Now you do, my daughter." That's how hearts learn, by walking in another's shoes. Samuel started taking me to church on Sundays. The first time I almost cried during the hymn. The pastor spoke about forgiveness that morning. He said, "When you forgive, you don't just free the other person, you free yourself." Those words felt like they were meant for me. One afternoon, as I rocked baby Grace to sleep, Lydia came and sat next to me. She whispered, "Mama, I was scared you would never forgive me." I smiled. "Child, forgiveness is not a gift I give you. It's a gift I give myself." After that day, our home changed. Laughter returned. The baby's giggles filled the rooms, and even the old walls seemed to breathe lighter. I started telling stories again, to little Grace, to Lydia, even to the neighbors who visited on Sunday evenings. And every story ended with the same message. Love is never wasted. Even when it hurts, it plants something good. One evening, Samuel brought me a small wooden box. Inside it was a silver necklace, the one I thought I had lost long ago. "Mama," he said softly, "I kept it all these years. I wanted you to have it back." I touched it gently. "It never really left me," I said, "just like your love." That night, as the moonlight filled my room, I sat by the window again, the same way I used to when I felt alone. But this time I wasn't alone. I could hear laughter from the other room, the soft cry of the baby, the hum of family life returning. And I realized, sometimes life doesn't give us new beginnings. It gives us a second chance to finish old ones with grace. So I closed my eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Lord. You took my tears and turned them into lessons. You took my pain and turned it into peace. You took my loss and gave me love again." Outside, the night was calm. Inside, my heart was finally home.